Hey, welcome back. I got a treat on my bench today. It's a Harman Kardon 230. It's a nice little unit. I wasn't expecting it to be so tiny. It's, I don't even think it's 4 inches tall. But yeah, it's a nice compact unit. And it appears to be working. I'm going to try it out now. AM has a built-in antenna.
They start to fade, you've got somebody to handle. Like that would be the
Tuning meter is working.
I could go for a ballpark jog right now. Oh boy.
Right here on CBC Radio 1. My name is
The movers who care.
Seems like AM's working really good. Let's try FM stereo. I think it's kind of cool the way it switches between AM and FM. Let's try out FM. Picking stations up. They're all pretty weak though.
back at Tim's. Time to turn those work from home beers.
This light is sputtering. Might have a bad connection. But I'm barely picking up any FM at all. And I do have an antenna hooked up. Let me see if it's... Doesn't seem to make much difference. This is the loudest station so far. This is a local station. And I got 6 bars, but before that I couldn't get more than 2. Oh, here's a strong one. Okay. Well, I think the FM needs work. It's probably weak or needs alignment. The audio amplifier is obviously working well. Let's try out left channel. Left channel is muffled. Right channel sounds normal. The left channel doesn't sound very good. So let's have a look inside. So I'm pretty sure somebody's been in here before. You can see these slotted screws on the sides. They're all show a little bit of wear from screwdriver. And some washers are missing. Some are missing washers, some aren't. So it looks like somebody's been in here doing something, maybe changing light bulbs. Who knows? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, look at this. Somebody's done some work. This, I believe, is a stereo indicator, and wires are broken off. And somebody's put some caps in here. More caps. I'm gonna have to go through this and make sure everything's good. Looks like we got some germanium transistors. 1, 2 germaniums, 3, and then maybe, hopefully that's it. Stereo indicator's not working. The wire's broken, obviously. Yeah, looks like it's interesting. Oh, look at the transistors back here. C931s. 2 C931s. I guess that's the audio amplifier here. All these wires, they collect back and they go underneath. So, interesting unit. Let's pull the bottom off. Looks very clean in the bottom. Doesn't look like anything's been butchered here. think anybody's done any work under this. Well, there is some damage here to the printed circuit boards. Let's see here. Yeah, there's some traces missing, ripped off, and there's another pad that's been ripped off. And this, I believe, is part of the tuner, or the radio. Oh boy. This looks almost, I would say this all looks original. And this looks original, but this has been worked on. Look at this mess here. Is a transistor there? No, it's electrolytic. Okay, well, our main filter caps, somebody added extra capacitors under here. This one here, 2200 at 35 volts, 1000 microfarad at 35 volts. I don't know what that's all about. Okay, well, let's get the manual and start looking here. 470 microfarad at 50 volts. I wonder if those are output for the speakers. Somebody has been changing caps in here. There's a few caps that have been replaced. This one, this one, this one. On that board. None of these on this board. None of these on this board. So they've done a bit of work. Okay, so let's go through it and make sure it's all 100%. Okay, so I'm probably halfway through recapping this receiver. Just want to show you some of the hurdles I'm facing. This board here is the worst one of all. This is an audio board. I think it's got the audio amplifier drivers on this side, and all the wires that feed into the final the audio output transistors. And then I think on here they might have the phono input as well. And it's a big board packed with all kinds of components. And they're all standing up too, like they're compact and they're pretty good. You can see they're standing up. And then the electrolytics are just buried within all these cables and wires. And so I'm going one at a time, and I'm just removing a cap, replacing it. But it's a pain because, I don't know if you can see this. This board's all hand soldered. And what they do is they put the component on, and then they trim the leads fairly short, like about 1/8 of an inch long, and then they fold them over, and then they solder it. And then it's really difficult to unsolder these without doing damage to the board. You have to be very careful with these old boards because the adhesive bond between the copper foil and the board itself is well, it's 50 years old for one thing, and it's also fairly weak. And if you put too much heat to it, it breaks that bond and that foil lifts off, and then your pad is lifted or your trace is lifted. So you got to be careful that way. So what I do is I use solder wick and a minimal amount of heat, try and remove as much solder as I can. And then you have to stand up those legs, those leads. And that's tricky too, because you can't do it when it's cold, because you'll rip the pad off the board, and you have to put a little heat to it to melt the solder. Then you have to lift the lead and straighten it out. And I do it one at a time. It takes about 5 minutes for each capacitor. And there's a lot of capacitors on this board. There's like 30 some. I'm about halfway through it. You can see the red ones I've changed, and then all these pretty gray ones on this side I haven't changed yet. So I'm going to get to that. I just wanted to show you a few things. These other boards were easy. I changed all the caps on these ones. Somebody went in here before and changed a few caps on this FM multiplex board. Which board was it? Yeah, this one here. I think that's the FM multiplex board. And while the caps weren't old, they put some cheap Chinese garbage in there, and you know, I did a few tests on a few of the caps, and they're already starting to show their age, even though they weren't that old. So I yanked them out, put new ones in. I cleaned up this mess. Somebody put a used cap in here, 1,000 microfarads, so I put a new one, and a new 2200, and a new 470, and cleaned up this power supply section. I still have to change these two caps. These are 470 at 50 volts. Somebody put in, these are just cheap Chinese ones, Chonex. And I measured them in there. The capacitance is from 470, it's already down to like 380. So they're already losing capacitance even though they're not old. So I'm going to take those out. I'm going to replace them with brand new 1,000 microfarad quality caps to give it the low end bass on this thing a little boost. Aside from that, everything's coming along well. This unit is 50 years old because I found a date code on the back of the meter here. It says 1970, 5th month. So May of 1970 it was built. So it puts it right at 50 years old. And you know, since it's 50 years old, I'm going to take all these caps out and just do a blanket recap. Everything good here. Another thing I noticed is somebody put these cheap knobs on. These plastic knobs. Looks like something you'd buy off eBay. These are original knobs, and these are all replacements. Not too bad, I guess. I didn't notice it till after I was working on it for a few days. But I would like to get a set of original knobs for this. I'll have to keep looking around. Other than that, it's coming along well. I did check the main filter cap. It's rated, what is it rated at? 2200 at 50 volts. And I checked it, and it measured out at 2400 microfarads, so it's got a good ESR. I'm still debating whether I'm going to take that cap out and replace it with something bigger. Like I have 8200 microfarad caps here. I could put one of those in. It would be the same diameter but smaller. Or I just might leave this one alone because it is holding out. It's an Elna cap and it's a quality cap, but you know, it is 50 years old, so I still haven't decided on that one yet. But all the other caps are coming out, and they have a they read kind of funny on my meters, so maybe I'll show you that in a bit. But I just wanted to give you a little update on what's going on here. Alright, so I'm done with the recap, and I started to move on to tuner alignments, and I discovered another problem after I connected up the stereo indicator light. It's always on. So, looked into it. Somebody replaced a transistor with a 2N5551, and it's supposed to be a 2SC828. The 2SC828 just acts like a switch. It just turns the light on and off. Shows it here. It's a pretty simple circuit. It's got a straight shot from this IF coil before it heads into the modulator. The transistor here, 2SC828. Now if I look at the, let's see here, at the drawing for this board, it has emitter, collector, base for the 2SC828. Emitter, collector, base. Okay, remember that. Now somebody whacked in a 2N5551, but they didn't get the wiring right on the transistor. They have the transistor in as emitter, base, collector. The collector should be in the center, not on the outside. So this transistor will never work because it's wired in wrong. It has the wrong pinout for this board. So I'm going to take that transistor out. I'm going to put back in the 2SC828, and hopefully our stereo light will start working again. Okay, so this just confirms my replacement transistor is going to be good. This is the 2SC828 and the 2N5551. Test this one as well that I took out. It is also good, but as I can see, it's pin 1 is emitter, pin 2 is base, the one in the center, and pin 3 is collector, which is not the same pinout as the 828. This transistor probably would have worked if the previous tech got it wired in right, but he didn't, so he put it in wrong and the light won't work. So what I'm going to do is put in an 828. I could slap any Jelly Bean transistors, 2SC945 or 2SC1815, something like that. All it is a switch to turn that light bulb on and off. But I'm just going to go with the original 828 and take this 5551 out, and we'll go with that. Okay, so transistor's replaced. Let's try it out. Lights off. No, it's not. It's on. Okay, we still have a problem then. Takes a sweet time coming on. I'm wondering, looking from the circuit here, there's not much to it. Transistor 303 is a 2SA49, which is a germanium. I'm going to suspect maybe that transistor's gone out. It's hard to say. Transistor 303. That would be this one here. Okay. I'll kill power and do some diode checks on these germanium transistors. Okay, what I'm doing is I got a voltmeter on the base of transistor, what is it? Transistor 304, which is the 2SC828 that I just put in. And it says it should have, it's really difficult to read, should toggle between 0 volts and 0.75 volts. I'm assuming 0.75 is when there's a signal. I'm not sure. But anyways, right now I got 0.7 volts, and I'm going to just tune through the band, and I'm going to see if I notice any changes on that voltage. And I'm not getting anything. That signal on the base seems to be high all the time at 0.7 volts, which probably explains why the light's on continuously. But if I switch it to FM, or AM even, that voltage should disappear.
Chunks, it's not floating around.
Yeah, but like...
It's part of the brewing process. The grain of the donut is part of the... And the
although some would likely go for...
Worked out well and that sort of thing, right? And so,
but I think I'm going to start the alignment on the FM because the alignment is so badly out of tune, it just barely seems to pick up stations. So I'm going to try that first. Maybe go through an FM alignment. So I think I got the AM dialed in pretty good. It was dialed in pretty good before, but I improved on it quite a bit actually. I'm feeding in a 30 microvolt signal through a loop antenna. This is like 7 turns of copper wire and loosely coupled, and I'm getting 5.5, 6 bars of signal. So the AM's working pretty good. Let's get on to the FM though. I'm still getting a lot of interference on my bench. There's a lot of harmonics here I'm picking up. So something's making a lot of dirty RFI.
Just past 78th Street, somewhere towards Wayne Gretzky Drive.
Yeah, it's just...
Tonight or tomorrow. Details coming up.
Global News Up.
So it is picking up some RFI. Okay, we'll move on to FM now. Okay, I suspect I have a bad transistor here. I'm getting noise in the FM signal that shouldn't be there. I'm feeding it a clean, unmodulated 10.7 intermediate frequency carrier. I'm feeding it right into the beginning, from the output of the tuner module to the input of the IF strip. I'm feeding the signal right in there. It should be a nice clean signal with no other noise, but listen to what I'm getting. It's that common bad transistor sound. Okay, so I think it's this transistor. Give it a shot of cold. Didn't really change. Let's get some heat. See? It stopped. And it's working 100% right now. Until it cools down. We'll feed it modulation. I cool it off. Here comes the tone. And our noise is coming back. Cool that off. Definitely think that transistor is bad. So I'll see what I can do for replacement. I don't think I have any 2SA 49s. Okay, so what I've done is I replaced transistor TR104. It is a 2SA 52 germanium transistor. I thought maybe it was going thermal on me and causing noise. Put another one in and the exact same problem. You hear that? Hear that bad transistor in there. So I've been going through with the iron and I've been heating parts up. All these diodes, detector diodes and whatnot. I have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 diodes on this board. I checked them all. There's 3 transistors, 2SC 828s. I think I'm just going to replace these 3 just because they might be suspect, and I do have them in stock. So what I'll do is I'll put new ones in there. And that'll eliminate this whole board because it'll have all the transistors replaced. There are some detector diodes for the FM in the maybe that's not for the FM. Yeah, that's for the FM. It's in the one of these cans, T103. I think it might be. I don't know which one T103 is. Doesn't matter. What I'll do is if it comes down to it, I might have to pull that can out and check those diodes inside. But right now I'm going to change these 3 transistors because somehow I got noise going on here in this string of the FM string circuitry. AM's fine. Everything else is fine. maybe I have the noise on AM, but I can't hear it because it's so small.
Ratchet.
And compared to the other noise, it's just swamped.
Game's just
Let's see if I can find a quiet spot here. There's just too much interference. Tape monitor, silent. Phono, I have a very slight hum and some background hiss. So I don't think that problem is in the audio amplifier at all. I think it is back here in the FM circuitry. So I'm going to change those 3 transistors and see what happens with that. Alright, so continuing to investigate this, I removed, what transistor did I remove here? Transistor 301. It's a TSA 49. It's a germanium PNP. I removed this transistor, and I got it here right in my hand. You know, if I turn the receiver on, I got silence. The noise is gone. I got a bit of hum, but the other noise is gone. So I suspect this is the one. So let's just test this with my diode checker, and I'll show you what I'm finding with this. Base is in the center. So okay, collector to base is 280 millivolts drop there. Base to emitter is 287 millivolts. Now if I reverse the leads, it should be open circuit. There should be no voltage drop, which is right. But if I go to the ohm meter and check this transistor forward junction, I get about 700 ohms. That junction is about 730 ohms, the base emitter. If I go backwards, I should have open circuit. But I don't. I have jumping all over the place. It's measuring something, but it can't pin it down. And the same with the other, the base to emitter, or base to collector junction. It's the same thing. I have reverse diode. I have all kinds of weird ohm readings. So I'm suspecting this transistor is bad. Now that I got silence when I turn it on, I'm going to put this back in. And I also have the this is the last IF can in this circuit. This is the last can here. This is it. I removed it. And this is the last link before it feeds into this circuit. So if I put this back and it starts making noise again, I know it's this transistor. If I put this transistor back and it's silent, I might have a problem with these 2 diodes inside this can, which I might open up. I'm not going to open it up yet, but I'm just going to put that aside, and I'll put this transistor back and we'll see what it does. Alright, transistor soldered back in, and turn it on. I'm not hearing the noise. Oh, there it is. I guess that transistor needs to cool off before I... Let's give it a little more heat. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to replace that transistor. I don't have any. I have to order this. So I'm going to put this aside for now until the transistor comes in. I'll replace it, and then we'll continue with the FM alignment. What I'll do right now is I'll solder this IF can back in, and we'll put this aside on the shelf and work on something else. So I had time sitting around waiting. I ordered transistors for this thing, germanium transistors, and I'm ordering it from Russia. apparently it's going to be a while getting here. But I decided to look through my inventory of germanium transistors, and they're all mixed up. So I had silicon and germanium together. I picked out a few that are PNP germaniums, and I got some I got an OC71 in two different forms. This is a Valvo one. This is from National, and these are audio transistors. I got one that's not marked at all. I don't know what the hell that is. And I got this one here. It's an OC45, and I looked up the try and find a data sheet for one of these things first of all. But as far as I can tell, this OC45 transistor, germanium, is used in RF and intermediate frequency stages. So I'm just going to tack this one in and see how it performs in this circuit. And if it works good, maybe I'll just leave it alone. Other than that, the other solution I have is I have to wait for the other transistor to come in, and I have to put this on the shelf for a while. But we'll see what happens when I put this transistor in. All right, so I hit another snag here. I had put that transistor in, and it seemed to be working. I was going through the FM alignment procedure. I was doing the IF. I tuned in the first two IF cans and the third, and I was actually, this is the first IF right here. It's on the it's in the tuner module. For whatever reason, the slug busted, and there's two slugs in there, and they're both broken. I don't know, I was using plastic tools and everything. It's just that it's such brittle material and they're so thin. I'll have to dig those slugs out and see if I can find replacements, but that's gonna hold me up here for a while until I can fix that slug problem. Alright, so I'm gonna remove the tuner block. I got no choice in the matter actually, but I have all of the connections underneath desoldered, and there's 3 tangs here that had heavy solder on them, and I removed as much solder as I could. So the tuner module itself should be free. I should be able to pry it up, but then we still have the dial cord to deal with. And I think in this situation the best thing is just remove the dial cord altogether. If I can get a screwdriver here, bend this out. And just remove the spring, and from there everything comes apart. Now I should be able to pry up on this and get this to pop out. There we go. And try from here. Just prying on the case, not anything that's there. It should be free, and we are good. So let me remove this big ugly thing. Now I'm going to leave that on because it's already aligned and it's glued. The reason I'm removing this is because this transformer totally took a crap on me. It's a little paper tube with 2 ferrite beads in it, and both ferrite beads broke because the ferrites were pretty much welded to the inside of this tube, and I couldn't turn them with a hex alignment tool. And when I started cranking on it, the ferrite split because it was hollow. It had a hollow hex through it and very thin walls, and whatever reason it stuck to the paper, and this paper is disintegrating, like it's chunks are missing out of it, and it's broken on the bottom now. So I'm going to take this transformer out and count the turns on it, maybe measure the inductance, and if I have to, I'll recreate this transformer on another tube, because this tube I think has had it. Alright, I think I have a broken wire there already, so this one here, let's see, right here, this is a wire, maybe not, where did that come from? Oh, that's a resistor. Okay, so this is a wire, and this is a wire. One there, got that one. The other one is over here. Okay. Just so I don't get confused, I'm going to solder back these two that I didn't need to. These two. This one. And this one. And let's see. Is that wire loose? Yep, that wire is loose, and this wire is loose. They're so thin. I need to take a little bit more off. Okay. All right. Now we got to remove these two wires. Before we go any farther, I'm going to draw a picture here of what I'm taking apart because I don't want this to crap on me. Okay. Seven. And this one's 6. And okay. Of course, they have to wrap it around the post. Makes the life easy, huh? I wonder if I can wiggle it off without unwrapping it. Stubborn. It's frustrating. There we go. Got one. This one's being difficult. Nope, I got it. All right. What's holding now? This one. Okay, so this one. Yes. Okay. And the other wire broke. That's why I didn't unsolder it, but it's there. The little stub end of it is right in there. I'll remove it from this side. If I can grab it. Where the hell is it? There it is. Got it. Okay, put this aside. This is the bottom. You see how this plastic tube just disintegrated? It's like, and it's coated with something, and these slugs just end up breaking. So I had to bust them up. So let's take the rest of this, whatever's left of this, out. If I can grab it, maybe I can push it out. Without busting the paper more. See, they're stuck. They're glued in or something. I don't know. I just don't want to move. Oh, here we go. I'm getting a chunk out. Okay. All right. Now, the top coil, what I want to do is I want to count these wraps. I'll get a magnifying glass and count those. This, I think I'm going to have to recreate this transformer. I have slugs. See? That I could use, but they'll fit, but this paper is just garbage. It's disintegrating. So I think I might just have to rebuild this transformer into something else. So let me get my magnifying glass out and count these turns and see what we can do. So what I'm going to do is check the inductance at 10 kilohertz. And we'll see what we got on one of the coils. I think these coils they're identical in turns. So it's just a 1-to-1 transformer ratio. The special thing about this transformer is that each coil has its own tuning slug, so you tune each side of the coil, each side of the transformer independently. And we have 2.43 microhenries. Let me check the other side. If I can get a pinch on the leads. Bear with me, I'm just fighting with little fine wires. There we go. So we got roughly 2.6 microhenries on the other side. So I think they're equal coils. I think it's just a matter of getting them to mount properly. So here's the offending transformer I'm trying to repair, T2. It's got 23 turns on this side, 23 turns on this side, so it's a 1-to-1 transformer. It's nothing fancy. There's no capacitor here, there's no capacitor on this side, so it's not going to resonate. We just want it to pass a 10.7 megahertz signal, so it should be relatively easy. We got what's originally here is just 2 coils, and each coil had its own independent slug, which could tune, and you could tune these slugs closer together or farther apart and peak this coil. So I don't think it's too fancy. I was thinking maybe taking one of these coil forms, unwrapping this, and using this coil form. It's long enough. I could get 23 wraps on the top, 23 wraps on the bottom, and I just have to find a couple of slugs that would fit this. I don't even think it takes slugs. It's a smooth wall in there, so a slug might not even work. So they got no threads for that might not work at all. Okay, scrap that idea. Here's another idea. I could take this one apart and just use the form, the tube. I probably have to take these legs off and probably have to trim about 3 or 4 millimeters off because I think it's too tall to fit in the tuner section, and I'd probably have to mount it upside down too. So that would fit there. Yeah, it's probably 4 millimeters too tall, and I could form both coils on this easily. I could just cut this bottom collar off and just use this tube. Problem is, this has a different diameter. This is about 7 millimeters, I think. 7 mil, 6.5, and this one's just over 5 millimeters. So it's a different diameter coil. I'll probably have a little different frequency response than the original. I'm not smart enough in mathematics to calculate coils and inductors and stuff. I'd have to pull up textbooks and scour them for a few days before I understood all that stuff. But I don't know, I'll have to figure something out. We'll have to replace this. I don't think I can put it back in because there's no way I can tune it. Unless I could put it back in and fix it somehow so it wouldn't move, and then see if I can get these slugs to work. So that's a hollow slug. Where's my blue adjuster? It gets quite tight once it gets in there. And I'm scared I'm going to break this one too. You put too much torque on them, they just split. Back it out. How's this side looking? See, this is coming apart. This paper's garbage. The coil will hold it together. This side's a lot better. Maybe I could glue this one back in. I don't know about this. I don't know if I can glue that in without... Let me put my thinking cap on. I'll see what I can come up with on this. Okay, I made an executive decision. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this back in. I cleaned off the excess glue here, just so it's not in the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shove this back in the hole, and I am going to hot snot the crap out of it just to get it to stay in its spot. But first I need to get some wires into the hole. I think that's it there. Not happy with this cardboard tube though. If I can shove it in and get it to stay. Okay. That wire is in. This one's not. This wire. That wire's through the hole. Okay, I gotta get another pair of tweezers here. And I need to get this wire into the other hole. Right in there. Everything's in the way. You gotta be really careful with these wires because if you flex them too much, they snap. And you want to do the absolute minimum movement on the wires. Okay, I think I got it in. Nope, not yet. I wonder how they do this at the factory. There we go. Oh, it bounced back. Okay. There we go. Okay, I'll solder that in. That one's in, and the other one is in. Yes, I can see it. Okay, I'll solder these two. Just want to check continuity. Okay. Make sure that's in there. Ouch. Trying to anchor it as much as I can without getting hot glue on this coil, because this is an adjustment coil. And I think I'm good. It's got stringies everywhere, but that's okay. I can pull those off. Okay, I'll let that cool. And then I'll solder the other two wires. Pull this off. Doesn't want to come. Okay. Top. Bottom. this off. Okay, put that back in. It's nice and stable. I need to find my slug for the top. I think I lost it. Where the hell did it go? Let's see if this behaves or if it wants to fall apart or... Come on, get in there. Okay, you got slugs on both ends, solder back in, stable. There are lock washers on these. Alright, so we're all back together and connected, and we're ready to continue on with our FM alignment. Let's turn this on and get it set up. I have my signal generator on. It's feeding at a 98 megahertz signal, minus 70 dBms, and it's modulated with a tone. So let's see what we got here. It's awfully quiet. There's our tone. Okay, let's see what we can do here. I got a problem with my connector here. There we go. Might be garbage. Okay. So let's try and get this slug in. See if this tunes in now. Try that one. Try this one. And yes, I'm using a steel screwdriver. Oh, there we go. Let me tweak this. Hey, I think that transformer's working now. I turned down my amplitude. Minus 83 dBms. Let's try and tweak this up. That's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the rest of the receiver and start the alignment procedure from the beginning, because I had the tuner module out and things are probably messed up now. And I don't think the IF section changed at all, but we'll retune this from the beginning and make sure it's right. Alright, so I ran into another little problem here, which I think might be the cause of the stereo light staying on. I was going through the multiplex alignment procedure, and there's a couple traps here I was aligning. There's a 67 kilohertz and a 72 kilohertz. That went, well, I wouldn't say great, but it seems like I'm having a hard time getting anything through this. And then there's a step where you tune L301, which is this one, and these two transformers to maximize the 19 kilohertz pilot tone. And turning these two, I get absolutely no response out of the adjustment. So I'm thinking I might have another dead stage here. I'm not sure. But I'm going to pull these two remaining germanium transistors, and I'm going to test them out of circuit, because I think that's the cause of my upset here. Anything else that can go wrong is just passive components. Well, there's a lot of diodes here. I did check these with my diode checker, and they all came up okay. But I'm going to pull those two transistors out and make sure that they're fine. If they're not, I think I'll be waiting for those Russian transistors to come in. Alright, I'm back. Through the magic of video editing, it's now 6 weeks later from that last segment that I filmed, and give you an update of what's going on here. Basically what I did is I put this aside out of frustration. I couldn't get it to align. I couldn't get it to work properly. I still have the problem with the stereo light being on all the time, even though I don't have the station tuned. So what I did is those Russian transistors came in, and I replaced, actually first I replaced this one. I took off the OC, which transistor did I have here? It was an OC 45, that's what it was. Took out the OC 45, put in this Russian transistor. This is a GT109L, and it works fantastic in this circuit, just as good as the original 2SA 49s. But I still had problems with the light. So what I did is I've been going through and checking components. I pulled these two CAN transformers out, checked them. They're both 100% good. I checked these capacitors, and I checked this capacitor, this one. What I did is I pulled out these two detector diodes and replaced them, just because maybe if they were leaky. But I'm just at a loss here on getting this to work. The IF section, I think I have dialed in correctly, and then when it all falls to crap is when I'm trying to do the multiplex alignment. Part of the problem is I don't have a proper test gear here for this. I don't have the proper FM multiplex generator. So going through the alignment, I can get these two to peak out. I can't get any of these three to peak out. The stereo light still comes on, even though I did have it kind of working previously earlier today. When I changed these two diodes, it started to come back, and I had a feeling maybe those diodes were leaky. But yeah, until I get the proper alignment gear, this ain't gonna happen. Now I'm still thinking I might have a problem with the tuner itself, even though the AM tuner is working great. The FM tuner is kind of weak and not there. Let me just turn this on. And I have an antenna hooked up, so let's turn up the volume a little bit. And I'll just scan through the band and you can hear for yourself. It almost kind of tunes in, but it seems like it's a little bit off frequency or something. A little distorted audio.
Super megabyte down? Yes.
That one sounds clear. And none of the stations really come in strong. I'm getting about 4 or 5 bars on the meter here. Of course I don't have a proper antenna, but that one goes up to 6. So I'm thinking I might still have a problem with the IF strip. I might have a bad transistor, or maybe a bad cap. I'm not sure. But one thing I want to do is once I get the multiplex signal generators, I'm going to go through the complete alignment and see if I can get this to tune in. And if I can, I definitely know I got a problem somewhere, and I'm just going to have to keep digging at this. You know, like I said, it's been very frustrating. I put it aside for about 6 weeks because I just it was just doing my head in. But I'm not going to give up on this yet. Still got a little ways to go. So just a little update there, and hang in. Just to give you a little show of what I'm up against here. I got the receiver tuned to 89 megahertz. My signal generator is putting out an 89 megahertz signal, and it's modulated with 19 kilohertz. So when I turn up the amplitude of the generator, you can see the tuning meter will start to kick in. Right now I'm at minus 90 dBm, so let's turn this up. So that's minus 70, minus 60, and you can see as I went from minus, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, I go from minus 60 to from minus 70 to minus 60, the stereo indicator goes brighter. And you can see that. So it's definitely picking up a stereo signal, and I did hear it when I had it tuned to a station. I did hear it have stereo separation. It wasn't good stereo separation, but it was there, and it was weak. But it was the demultiplexer is working. So, but that's a fairly strong signal I'm pumping into that. Let's turn modulation frequency down. Kilohertz. Actually, let's go back up to 19. Next 14, 15, 16, 17. As soon as I click at the 17 kilohertz, you see the light come brighter. There, see? 18 kilohertz, 19, 20, 21, and then it goes dim again. Right at 19, it really brightens up. So the circuits are working. They're just not working very good. So this is what's frustrating for me, is just trying to troubleshoot this without the proper equipment. I guess I'm going to have to put this aside and wait until I get a proper stereo multiplex generator that I can feed in a proper signal. Well, it looks like I might have it working actually. Let's try it out.
To work it out. Promise you can.
You notice it takes a long time for it to fade to dark. I don't know what's that, and the transistor that switches the bulb on and off gets very hot. I made an adjustment to help with that, but I don't know if it's enough of an adjustment. I'll show you what I did here in a bit. I just want to go through the band and show you how it's working now. It's not great because it's still not dialed in, but it's working. The stereo is working now, and the light is behaving the way it should, for the most part. So let's go through the band.
Again in this life, in this reality.
It still sounds terrible. Like I said, I don't think I have it dialed in properly.
For decades during his life.
See, it lingers and then it takes its sweet time going back to black. I just, I don't understand what is going on with this. It's such a basic circuit too, it doesn't make sense. There's a nice stereo signal. You can hear the separation. It's actually coming in pretty good. I think the weaker stations are coming in distorted. So.
J'étais en élection contre 5 hommes d'une 45-50 d'années.
This one's a talk station. I think it broadcasts in mono.
Pour ma profession et donc tout ça.
Okay, so I'll show you what I did. Alright, so here's a schematic of the demultiplexer board. 4 transistors. You got a B5 supply. It supplies 15 volts for this whole circuit. We've got a B4 supply that supplies this stereo indicator light. It's a 14 volt 80 milliamp bulb, and it's fed, this transistor shunts it to ground to turn it on. Let's see, this measures not at 27, yeah, it's at 27 volts, but it comes off of here, I'll show you. It comes off of the B plus, and then it's dropped with some resistors. So this is the B plus, it's plus 35 volts. This supplies the power amplifier and everything else. And then there's 2 resistors, a 300 at 3 watt and a 1.5K in parallel. And this provides the B4 supply, the 2714 volts. 27 volts actually. And that 300 ohms, I changed this resistor to 390 because it was putting a lot of current through here, and I'll explain why. Okay, this is a 14 volt at 80 milliamps, so I took this bulb out and I thought maybe, you know, the bulb was always on, so maybe it's the wrong voltage, maybe it's like an 8 volt or a 6 volt bulb. So I took it out and I replaced it with a 12 volt bulb. And to be honest, I think the one I pulled out was a 12 volt as well. I think the 14 volt bulb wasn't there. But when this transistor turns on, or when it's partially on, it's sinking a lot of current. And this transistor got quite hot. I couldn't even put my finger on it. It gets that hot. So what I did is I changed that 300 ohm resistor, that 3 watt, to a 390 to drop the voltage here so that this would be less stress on this circuit. Anyways, what I did to get this thing back working again is, you see these 2 coils up here? These are traps, I believe. One says 67 kilocycles, this one on top. This one on the bottom here says 72 kilocycles. So what I did is I hooked up a signal source from my signal generator, and I connected a scope across this coil as well. And what I did is I tuned this coil to provide the lowest impedance path through here, right? And then I connected my scope and my signal generator up at this point and at ground, and I fed it with 72 kilocycles, and I adjusted this coil to give it the maximum shunt to ground to shunt out that circuit, that signal. What I essentially did was tune these 2 coils to 67 kilocycles and 72, because they're little tank circuits, right? Another thing I did is I replaced this 10K pot. I don't know if it was misbehaving or what, but I put a new one in, and that's when things started to click into place. It started working. I was able to tune this transformer after that and peak it, and I was able to tune this one and peak it, and then I'm not sure 301. Yes, I was able to tune all three of these and peak these, and that's when it's coming back. But like I said, we still got distortion on weak signals. This pot here, I still understand what its purpose is. It feeds the signal through this tank circuit, goes up to this line through here, and I believe this is part of the demux circuit, sir. So I'm not quite sure about how this works. I'm learning about FM demultiplexers, and you know, it's kind of a black art to me, and I don't understand it. But I do understand that if you break these down into little blocks, circuit blocks, you can make sure that each one of these circuit blocks is working. You can feed signals in and test them, and make sure that they're working. So to make sure the whole thing is working, you got to make sure all these little blocks are working. So that's part of my strategy here. But it seems to be working now. I don't think it's dialed in properly, and I don't think it will be dialed in properly until I get my stereo signal generator, and then I can properly feed in, you know, a left channel signal and a right channel signal and get them dialed in just right. But at this point, I'm just going to leave it, and it's working, and I know it's functioning, so I'm not going to do anything more to it. So you can hear it's really susceptible to interference. It's not the greatest tuner in this thing.
Hey, it's Joan of Arc's birthday. You're listening to Tempo, and this is CBC Music.
But it is working now, and I'm happy with that. Finally figured out it was just a matter of getting it dialed in, and you know, I think once I get the right equipment to do better alignments on these FM decoders, I can get a better job, better result. Overall, it's a cute little receiver. I like it. It's got 8 watts per channel. I tested it yesterday. I did the full alignment on the power amplifier. Like I said, it only puts out 8 watts per channel, but hey, why not? Works. And so I'm going to call this one done for now. I might revisit this when I get better equipment to align it, but for now I'm frustrated with it. I started this back in August of 2020, and just out of sheer frustration I put it aside, and it is now February of 2021, and I'm just finishing this up. So it was very stressful and frustrating, and sometimes I just had to put it aside because it was just driving me crazy. But for the most part, I think it's good now. So I'm going to leave it, call it done, and let's move on to something else. All right, thanks for watching.